Welcome back. It's time for the Shell Superbikes Race 1. And Craig Connell, the series leader, will start from pole position alongside his Ducati dealer teammate Steve Martin. Sean Giles on the Ansett Air Freight Suzuki and Andrew Pitt on the Kawasaki round out the first row. Adam Ferguson, Paul Free, Kevin Curtin on the Yamaha, and Mark Ferrari, that's the second row. Row 3, Alistair Maxwell, Dave Emerson, Anthony Perdue, and the youngster, the 16-year-old Christopher Mullen. Row 4 is Tozer, Webster, Simpson, and Ognenis. And Bazina and John Orchard, the Melbourne rider, rounding out the fifth row. Well, the sun might be shining, but it's a wet track that greets the Superbike riders. Away we go. Look at the Team Kawasaki Australia rider, Andrew Pitt, gets away to a beautiful start. I tell you what, it's very dicey conditions. The majority of the track wet, part of the track dry. This is going to be a very interesting race and a tough race for the riders, Barry.
You can see the dry, sort of dryish line. It's still pretty damp. But the difficult thing about this is what happens if you're trying to overtake it. Oh, you see the number 8, he's right out, that's Paul Free, right out on the wet stuff. So when you try and overtake somebody, you nip up the inside, and all of a sudden you're confronted with wet circuits. So just watch for a hero at the hairpin.
Speaking of a hero off the start line was Mark Ferrari. Bike 61 sits in second position. Ahead of the series leader, Craig Connell. Then it's Kevin Curtin. Back to bike 22 is the youngster, Christopher Mullen, just 16 years of age. A big task for him this year on these big bikes.
No. Sorry about it. It's just, what they're trying to do is get some temperature into their wet tyres. They have tyre warmers beforehand, but it's just very, very difficult because you have tyre warmers, you get your sighting lap, and what that does, it cools the tyres down in a situation like this. So you just basically got to go as quick as you can on the driest bits and just hope you can keep some temperature in your tyres.
This is an area of the new resurfaced circuit right here as they come past the hay sheds where the bump, as everyone refers to it, there was quite a big bump there which really put the bike riders off. That has been ironed out and levelled out, and good smooth conditions, but very challenging conditions here at the moment, Barry, in the wet.
Oh, absolutely. It's you see there the back end of Andrew Pitt's bike is just sort of stepping out a little bit. Everybody's on full wet tyres, and at the end of probably, say, another half a lap, these tyres will be nicely warmed up. Then when you see the back end, that's just the blocks are really quite big and it's moving around on the blocks. But what you have to be careful of is after a couple of laps, when the dry line really starts to go everywhere, then you've got to get on the wet and keep your tyres full.
Andrew Pitt, the 23-year-old on board the Team Kawasaki Australia entry, leads the way from this guy, 61, Mark Ferrari. Quite a surprise at the moment. Mark, this is probably the ride of his career at the moment. He's ahead of the two Ducati dealer team bikes in Craig Connell and Steve Martin.
Well, I've got to say, he looks really, really okay. He looks smooth. He doesn't look like he's riding on a sort of a knife edge. He looks really good.
Dry line starting to appear there.
Now watch here, the acceleration out of this. This is where it can catch you out. You know, you come out of this and you just sort of get the power and you're going to get more. You see Connell there lifting the bike up really as straight as he can before he accelerates, because you've got a bigger area on the ground and you can stand it spinning when you're up more or less straight, but when it's sideways it spins, just kicks the back end down.
You'll be glad to know, Barry, that Craig and Steve have got different helmets now, different coloured helmets.
That was just ludicrous. Having the same helmets. It's unforgivable.
Connell starting to make ground on Mark Ferrari and Andrew Pitt. He sits third. It's still Kevin Curtin on the Radars Team Yamaha back there in fourth, the rider from Newcastle in New South Wales. There's Craig Connell as he comes over the top and down.
Oh, look at this. That's a heroic move. You see, that's really very, very wet. It's at the inside of Ferrari there, and Ferrari just puts the power on and doesn't quite make it, but that was a very brave move from Craig.
So it's the series leader, last year's runner-up.
Back end of Connell's thing, he's trying very hard.
Trying to bridge that gap to Andrew Pitt. Let's hear from the Queenslander.
This weekend I've sort of gone with a lot of front-end weight bias so I can keep the front on the ground because the wind sort of tends to want to pick it up as you're coming off a turn all the time. So yeah, I've changed it a bit for that.
Well, there you have it, last year's runner-up in the Australian Superbike Championship to Marty Craggle, who now is riding in the British Superbike Championship and doing quite well after a couple of crashes at the beginning of the year. And of course, former Ansett Air Freight Suzuki rider Troy Bayliss leads that series. Well, as Kevin Curtin catches Mark Ferrari, they have, Barry, allowed some amendments to the production Superbikes this weekend. They've allowed them to port the heads. They've allowed them to take off the starter motor.
But you see, this is going the wrong way, Lee, because what it's doing is making it more expensive. You know, then you fiddle around with the heads and doing this and doing that, and it's all cost. Whereas if you can't muck around with the motor, the cost is kept right down.
A really good ride at the moment by bike 22. That's Adam Ferguson on screen, 15 on the mobile Honda. Just ahead of him is 16-year-old Chris Vermeulen from Queensland, from Yandina on the Sunshine Coast. This kid is hot property at the moment as well.
16, it's sensational.
He's stepped up into the Superbike category. He hasn't spent a lot of time on the road, that's for sure. So he's been thrown in the deep end and he's accepting the challenge quite well. He's on a Yamaha R1, and if you have a look at him, well, you could literally say the factory Yamaha rider in Kevin Curtin. So the young kid's doing well.
This is a great breeding ground, you know, but as I say, they need to keep it a lot closer than it is performance-wise, and to keep the costs down so that the likes of, you know, you don't sell millions of motorbikes in Australia. There's only 17 odd million people who live here, so they should have it so that, you know, it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Word was, Barry, that Aprilia were looking at Chris Vermeulen.
I don't blame them. You know, the Aprilia have always chosen, you know, the young Italians and that. The series they have in Europe, in Italy especially, is fantastic for bringing on young talents. And oh, yeah, that's a good move.
Adam Ferguson on the inside of Vermeulen, the mobile Honda rider. Moves up one position better now. He's got Curtin on his list. Curtin's still unable to get past Mark Ferrari. That's a great ride by Mark Ferrari on the Ducati. Connell still in second, and Andrew Pitt, 23-year-old. Here he is on screen now. The Team Kawasaki Australia rider leads the way, and quite convincingly. He's got a handy margin.
Like a bowl of jelly on the back end. Oh, bit of a slip there from Ferrari.
Ducati dealer team rider Steve Martin a little further down. So too the second mobile Honda rider in Anthony Perdue. Perdue's back down in 9th position, Steve Martin in 7th, so
yeah, it's unusual. Steve Martin, isn't it?
Very. Bike 14 on screen. That is Anthony Perdue. And Chris Vermeulen too. Look in the background. Vermeulen hasn't lost any ground to the more experienced guys that surround him as they climb Lukey Heights one more time. Vermeulen is right there with Adam Ferguson.
Will he ever go down inside now?
So it's Anthony Pitt, sorry, Andrew Pitt, the Kawasaki rider who has streaked away. He's left these guys behind. The opening race of 2 here at Phillip Island, the Shell Australian Superbike Championship.
Look at the back end of Connell's thing now. That's just a hot tyre now. The blocks on the left-hand side of that tyre really, really big.
There he is, Andrew Pitt, yes.
I think he's just saying...
Takes the win and is very, very pleased with that. Nice work. That is his #1 win this year.
I think he's just saying, I'm ever so pleased.
Yeah. Well done.
Good ride.
Peter Doyle, Robbie Phillips and the whole gang from Team Kawasaki Australia will be delighted in that. What quite a domineering win. As we have a look at the placings for race 1 of the Shell Superbikes. Andrew Pitt, look at him, he is just delighted. Ahead of Kevin Curtin on the Yamaha. Adam Ferguson got there for 3rd ahead of Craig Connell, Chris Vermeulen. Then we pick up Mark Ferrari ahead of Steve Martin and Anthony Perdue.